Hello. So there's a lot to, a lot that I took in, and so I have some notes to help me try and keep it cohesive. For the career counseling group, I really found that to be very informative. I never really fully understood what a vocational counselor did, so just right off the bat, learned a lot. And I really love the solution focused or the strengths based perspective. It can be so helpful to focus on what people already do well, and what they have achieved, and then kind of project that forward. And acknowledging those things can really help with providing material for exceptions that have happened in the past. Um, and just like all the various like interventions, like the miracle question is like a really great thought experiment. I think scaling questions are really helpful. Coping questions, all of those can be really great, like positive psychology approaches. Um, I really like the idea that was brought up of pre session changes, and how it highlights that even just like deciding to come to counseling or like making an effort in any way indicates like so much resilience and a desire to grow and improve. And even before like the real work of therapy or like group work even begins, um, that first step that people have taken to involve themselves or find more information might in itself have been motivation to make other positive changes. So I think that's a really cool way to start. Um, I really liked the superpowers exercise that was given as an example. It's a really nice blend of visualization and like grounded acknowledgement of what will work for people and what could be addressed through counseling or skill building, and really helps people to find the best job for them based on their needs. For the trauma informed presentation, I got a lot out of that. It's a area of knowledge in a field that I have some experience in, and I feel like it's very likely that I will end up working in that environment. So this was really nice to see some practical examples of. Um, and so yeah, the focus on safety and like peer support and collaboration is so valuable. Being able to feel safe and supported enough to share your experiences and to be validated in those experiences, um, and to help people understand that like you're not a failure or a bad person. Like we all come with like this organic hardware, like this organic substrate that like will respond, in a predictable way under certain conditions. And especially just like the peer support and like the safety aspect of it, especially important when you consider how much shame and secrecy is involved in this specific situation with someone like dealing with PTSD or trauma and substance abuse at the same time. It's a very lonely, isolating experience. So just being able to kind of externalize and like talk to other people about it, I think can be so healing. Um, because like substance abuse is often both the result of trauma and is often a way to continue or replicate trauma, or it invites whole other new kinds of trauma in, so it gets really muddy and kind of complicated. I love the idea of the group mandala. I think that it really is cool because it allows for individual expression, but can also be really inspiring and like cohesive for a group. I love that example. And from I really like the angle that the group is taking in terms of like supporting partners who are going through substance abuse struggles. Um, um, to be able to support a partner, since partnership can undergo such a tremendous strain as a result of substance abuse and trauma. I have experienced personally and heard many positive stories about Al-Anon, which is a very similar idea. Like it's not AA, it's the support group that is set up for people being affected by people who are in AA or NA or any of those things, and like deals a lot with like codependency and trying to figure out like why exactly they're in these relationships, and it can help them identify the ways in which they can adjust their behavior and their cognitions in an effort to reduce harm to themselves and encourage like better communication and all that stuff. So yeah, that was really nice to read about, to see in the presentation. I enjoyed the explanation of comorbidities and the bidirectional effects of trauma, as I just mentioned. And I liked an emphasis on mindfulness, just because de-identifying with your feelings, understanding that they will pass, increased self-compassion are really excellent teachings for anyone, and especially those going through those specific struggles. For the religion and spirituality model, that was really lovely to read and also felt like very poignant, since it promotes resilience and assists people in finding meaning, which can be so difficult, especially as people navigate some of their biggest challenges. I think it's vital to build community that can relate and empathize on this deep level in a way that other people can't. And to assist in the process of grief, even in the event that someone doesn't pass away, there's so many griefs to process and move through, such as like the loss of the life that you once had. Like everything is different after a diagnosis or a treatment, on such a big level. The grief of the loss in your ability, about like relationships that might not weather the storm, because again, places a tremendous strain on the loved ones of people who are suffering, which just makes their suffering worse, unfortunately, or it can. I really love the altar building exercise, especially since we just did one at the retreat. I think it's a really beautiful way to provide comfort and a space for reflection, anchoring people to specific feelings and allowing for the use of symbolism, which, as we've talked about, can be such a direct reflection that really gets to like the heart of things without having to explain them. So I really loved that. It's perfect for making meaning. And I liked, the walkabout exercise. And, I think we can all agree that like a change in setting can be so helpful for mental health, and especially in these situations where people might be spending a lot of time in hospitals or outpatient clinics or just like at home, kind of isolated. I think that, reminding yourself that there's a whole world outside of your own experience, seeing evidence of life thriving can be really inspiring and super grounding. Lots of meaning to be made there. And the group counseling in schools presentation. I really love the feminist theory approach. It's not something that I've read too much about, just in terms of practical application and examples of how it might work with specific clients or populations. And I love that it really hones in on the fact that we are products of our environment. You can't separate us from our environment, our socio-political environment and others, especially in regards to, the dominant culture and how you're expected to fit into it and the consequences when you don't. I really love the emphasis on like relational theory and how we as humans are often motivated to change and grow in relation to one another. So interconnectedness is vital. I know for me, the greatest areas of growth in my life or motivation to make changes have come from the desire to be a better partner, to be a better daughter, to be a better friend. So I resonate deeply with the idea that just like with relational theory and connection to other people, and how that can be an incredible means for change and growth. I really liked some of the details about groups working with elementary school kids, and the focus on their individual rights, like building up their self esteem, making them feel empowered, just like at a young age, just to kind of like help set the stage and like, yeah, set them up for success as much as possible. And with the middle school kids, I think that's an especially challenging age, at least like from my observation, and from being a middle schooler at one point many moons ago. And yeah, just like as they're becoming more aware and like learning about the world outside of their home or their schools or their families, educating people while they're young about things like patriarchal ideas and fostering things like critical thinking, self reflection, and understanding what it is that you want and need out of relationships as opposed to what you've been told to want. I think that's a really important point that that like many adults I know, including myself, are really still working on. So I love that these ideas can be and are being passed on or taught to these younger generations. And in high school, I love the idea of being problem solvers instead of problem bearers. I think it's like a great way to combat kind of like a learned helplessness that can happen, depending on like your role in society, which again depends on so many things, such as your perceived gender, like your socioeconomic background, and just in general, yeah, like social conditioning. And yeah, like I really loved the quote at the end, like the problem is the problem and you have power. So it's like a really grounded acceptance of an issue that's being worked on, and the emphasis that you are capable and empowered and strong, and that we can get through it, especially with the help of friends, family, community, and potential group work and mental health practitioners. So yeah, this was all really, really enlightening and inspiring and very educational and informational. So thank you. I think that's all I've got for this today. Thanks so much.